Assalamu alaikum. Welcome. Welcome. We are just getting ready for a few more people to come into our chat and we'll get started. Thank you. All right, we're going to get started in just a few minutes. I thank you guys for showing up. I thank you guys for supporting me and supporting this chat. Thank you so much for coming into this chat, and we are getting ready to go live and get started right now on the law of giving. So, there are several ways. I thank all of you guys. Hi, how are you? There are several ways that we should give. We should always, especially in our family, with our elderly, with our younger people, we should always give of our time. We should give of our money, whenever it's necessary. So, giving is a way in order to receive. We just don't give in order to receive. We give because it's the right thing to do, for any situation where a person is in need, or, they may be homeless. I make it a very sincere way of giving whenever I go to the gas station in order to give to people that's homeless at the gas station, or who may be asking for a quarter. You never want to give a person a quarter. Please hit the like button. Thank you guys. um hi, how you doing? H speed. Assalamu alaikum. I see you. Walaikum assalam. I thank you so much for showing up and supporting me. But I make sure that I give people money all the time. And sometimes it's not just money. I make sure that I give them food, especially when I was, a candy lady and a haberdashery. I would give people money and food. When I ran my caregiving business, I would just sit down and talk to the elderly people because they had so much knowledge about the times past that's gone, that I could just sit there and talk to them for hours. But we always want to make sure that we're giving. So these are some of the ways that we give in the Holy Quran. The first one is called zakat. The second one is called sadaqah. The third one is called giving secretly and openly. The fourth one is the importance of sincerity. And you're going to figure out that some of the ones from the Holy Quran and the Holy Bible, they match. The fifth one is giving from giving for loved ones. I think that I got that right. And avoiding harm and oppression when, giving to people, to show out and harm people. Hi, hello, how you doing? I can't see your name. It is TT Kill 999. Okay, nice to have you. Thank you for coming. So there are several ways that you should give. Giving is a special way that, it's where God sees it and he will give you, based on your giving. You should give with, sincerity, cheerfulness in your heart. It speaks in the Holy Quran about giving alms to the poor and the needy. From a very young age, I was always going to the Hosea Williams Feed the Hungry. They when you're graduating high school and you have to do that extra work. Then that's what I chose to do is do the Hosea Williams Feed the Hungry. So I always wanted to give to orphans and elderly people, homeless people, children, and a lot of people enjoyed my food as well when I was giving in the haberdashery. So, I would look for people all the time that was less fortunate, and make sure that they were at the top of the list whenever I had to give something. So, we're going to, try to compare these together, what we have from the Holy Bible. And it says in the Holy Bible, the law of giving is one, regular giving. Number two is participatory giving. Number three, intentional giving. Number four, proportional giving. Number five, anticipatory giving. Number six, effective giving. And number seven, accountable giving. So we're seeing that a lot of these match up with the Holy Quran and the Holy Bible because, you know, we're supposed to give. And that's some of what's going on in our society now. We have, the government that wants to reap the benefits off of its people in society, and they're not giving back. They're just taking for the rich. They're making sure that the rich is straight and having everything that they need, but you have people that are homeless, living on the street, in difficult situations, people losing their homes, people with children on the streets, people with addictions, people just hungry and overwhelmed, losing their jobs to AI. So we want to make sure that as a community, the body of believers, Muslims and Christians, that we're giving, to our brothers in Sudan, in Gaza, and I make sure that when I have money, when I have some money, I try to give to those people in need, that's suffering from harsh conditions, famine where they live. If I can't send anything but $25, that's what I do. If I can, send $25 to Gaza and $25 to Sudan, then that's what I do. But ultimately, make sure that a percentage of what I make from, spiritual healing, I make sure a percentage of what people pay me, that I give to people that's in need. And sometimes I give more than I'm supposed to. And I used to get in trouble about that, when my husband was alive. But you know, uh, he's no longer here to see me, so I'll give a little bit more on one check, and then I won't give, on my next check. I'll just make up for it for that. So, when we are dealing with giving, the church and the Holy Quran, the Muslims, we line up in certain things of giving in order to get blessings from God. That lines up in all the books. It teaches us about giving in from our own situation, from our own paychecks, just like I was just saying, whatever we have received. But it is a little disgust that when you are a person that has farmland, that has um crops and things like that, that can also be received as giving, and giving in order to make sure that some of the less fortunate people are eating. They are, have what they need. The church has what they need, to make sure it's fully stocked for, less fortunate people, kids, pregnant women, elderly women. And that is supposed to be what the church and the holy bodies, the Muslims in Islam, that's what we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to be out helping those kinds of people, finding those type of people, the destitute, the broken, the people who are homeless, they're hungry. That some of the money that we have taken in, it doesn't matter who you are, whether you are the government, if you are working on a regular basis, you're supposed to be giving. It doesn't matter if it's someone in your community or not. Because if you become stingy, and your heart becomes hard where you don't want to give to people, you just, and I've heard people say, around me, and I really stopped hanging out with some of my cold-hearted friends, where they were like, don't give that homeless person nothing. He's just gonna go buy some liquor. And I'm like, really? You are one to judge. Every week you got to go get something from Timu. Every week you got to go get something out the mall, and you're talking about somebody else's addiction. In my mind, one addiction is no better than the other. So I'll give the person something anyway. Even if it's $5, is you're always required to give the person something, even if it's just a nice word. And people don't understand that society has become so demoralizing that they can't even speak a nice word to their brothers and sisters. That is why we're in the condition that we're in, because we will see something that is wrong in society, and we will not stand against it. We will not stand against it together, and condemn it. It's very simple, condemn it. So, this is where we are in giving, in giving from the fruits of our labor, in giving of our time. That goes especially well for us who have elderly parents. And like I say, I had two assistants before I came on this mission, and I left both of my assistants with my father, because, we want to make sure that the elderly, they're always taken care of, and they always feel like they're needed and they're well taken care of. It doesn't matter if your mother makes it. My father made it, and my mother passed a long time ago. But you always want to make sure that your parents, when they're elderly and up in age, that they're comfortable, that they are aware that you're talking to them and not talking down to them. So spending time with your parents, that is a way of giving, and God blesses a person who does that. And that doesn't mean that if you have that parent that wants to talk down to you and want to talk crazy to you, that doesn't mean that you have to sit there and take that kind of abuse. That means that you can bow out and tap out gracefully and say, okay, mom, dad, I love you. I got to go. I got to go to work. No matter what, if you got to go, let me go get some from the grocery store. So we can find a way out. We can find a way out of being nasty. And even if our parents are talking down to us, if they've gotten to that stage where they're just grumpy, you never know if they're hurting. You never know what's going on with them. And some of them are just used to being mean and nasty. I found that out myself by, running a care group home. So as a caregiver, I had many, I had so many Vietnam vets, and I had women who was, wives of the vets, and you know, my husband was a vet. He was a Navy vet, and he was a truck driver. So, I took care of a lot of the elderly people, and I used to talk to them and make sure that they felt at home, and make sure that we all had agreements on what kind of breakfast we were going to have, and all of those kind of things. I had maybe, 7 people in my group home, elderly people, mentally challenged people, ranging from I would say 56 all the way into their 70s. So, we had a great time doing that because, that's what ultimately I wanted to do. That's why I was running from you guys, because I wanted to stay with the elderly people. I didn't want to come and run my own channel. I wanted to stay with the elderly people, and make sure that they were okay. So that was my way of giving back to, my father, and the elderly people that I was taking care of. And it's a great way to receive the blessings of God upon your life. And, just a great way to see the blessings manifest in your life when you do those kind of things with elderly people and children, and even with animals. Yeah, gerbils and hamsters. And when you said that, sloppy seconds, to seconds, I can't really see your name, but yeah, animals, taking care of animals is a great way to receive blessings. It talks about in one of the hadiths, I think, that a man gave a dog some water, and was, blessed, and went to Jannah because, went to heaven because he gave a dog some water, a thirsty dog. So when you see animals, hanging out, let me see what you're saying. The Christian worldview is the only worldview. No, it's not the only worldview. I'm sorry, but we have to look at all of the holy books as a way of understanding that it's a spiritual defense. All of them basically says the same things. So, we're not going to get into that. I think that's uh, bonehead. No, no. We have to look at all the holy books as God speaking to us, as the human race, and we'll just put that like that. So, well, if I'm sorry, bonehead, then, you can go somewhere else. I didn't ask you to come here. You came here, this is alive, and, you're welcome. But if you're going to be disrespectful, you can leave. Anyway, so, I thank all of you. Please hit the like button. Please share and subscribe whenever you come to my channel. You know, and we're talking about the law of giving. When you're giving of yourself and your time, like I was saying, to elderly people, you take the time to rescue a cat. You take the time to make sure that your brothers and sisters are straight. So, what I mean by that is, when after my mom had passed, 20 years ago, I stayed. That was another reason why I did not want to run my own channel, because I wanted to make sure that, my younger siblings graduated, and make sure that they were okay. Um, well, we don't worship a man. And like I said, you can go away. We don't need you here if you're just going to interrupt the live. But thank you. Can someone please get rid of him and ban him from the live? Please, thank you. But, we make sure that we give of ourselves, because I wanted to make sure that my younger siblings was taken care of. They had graduated. They could fend for themselves before I go anywhere. You know, my father was well able to take care of himself. His family, he had family that he could go to. He had me that he could go to. But my younger siblings, I wanted to make sure that I was giving them that time, and making sure that they were, you know, had everything that they needed: food, water, shelter, everything. The money, the lights that they could study, books. I made sure that they had everything before I came on this mission. So it took me a minute, to come on this mission to talk to you guys. And I really appreciate you for coming out and helping me with this project of giving. Right now, I'm giving to you guys. There's a lot of things that I have lined up, planned for you guys. We're doing our full moon cleanse where we can all, benefit from that. I'm giving you enough time again, so you can gather everything that you need. I'm doing mine with holy water, and anointing myself with the asphyxity oil. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do the meditation, the full moon cleanse, and removing negative energy, enemies from my body and mind. And these are some of the things that I work with you guys on to help unify our community, to bring us together, and just to give you some of the things that we can do together, and I don't know if you guys are planning on doing your sturgeon full moon cleanse, but I'm hoping that we do this together to remove some of those negative energies. And again, this is the way that I like to give to my community, in order so that they understand that there are things that you can do that is right from the universe, right in your vicinity, that you don't have to run to somebody in order to cleanse your mind, body, and soul from negative energy. So that's my way of giving to all of you guys, and I really appreciate your support. We're a little bit over 5,200 supporters, subscribers, and and we're growing. And this is the reason for that, because I constantly give you from all of the holy books. When I have the knowledge, I make sure that I post it, or I put it in a video for you guys, and I make sure that you have an understanding of where it comes from. This is just my way of giving to you. We should all practice giving. We do not want to fall into, that stinginess, that hard-heartedness, where we don't want to talk to our brothers and sisters. We don't want to discern and talk to the good people that's around us, because there are good people that's around us. Even though that it is more of these people that have decided to roll with the entity, we'll have a lot of those. But when God gives you discernment, God gives you when you give to your brothers and sisters. So, our blessings are infinite. Whether you are Muslim or Christian, our blessings are infinite. And we have to utilize the laws of giving. We have to utilize that, because this entity wants to cut us off from each other. They want to have us divided, especially our black people, where you're against black women, where black women are against black men. And I don't want to be against anyone, because I grew up, with my brothers, my fathers, my sisters, my uncles, and my aunts on both sides. So we have to make sure that when we're encountering, that kind of content from other people, that outside influence that's going to divide us, that, it is giving us angry kind of outlook towards each other instead of bringing us together, then we will always want to make sure that we cut that out of our lives. We cut that kind of content off. We have this unfortunate person, this unfortunate soul that's on here that wants to heckle us this time. It's always one person, but we're in the spirit of giving, yeah, and we're gonna give him a chance. That's on him if he want to say all kinds of things. It's always a person that wants to highlight Jesus, and we all love Jesus. Jesus, was a prophet, and and that's what he was. He was a person, a prophet sent from God. So I make sure that we are always giving to all of our brothers and sisters, no matter whether they are Christian or Muslim. I make sure that you know why we're giving. You know why I'm giving you certain things, certain verses to read from the Holy Bible, certain verses that I read from the Holy Quran, because they coincide. And this is one of those laws inside of the holy books that coincide with each other, that we must be giving. If we fail to give, then our society falls into peril. The only the rich is only the money, and everything is making a circulation with only the rich. And that's what's happening in our society. We're having a problem where they're taking the Medicaid from the elderly people. Hospitals will be closing down, and they're going to send your elderly people home with you. And there's not a lot of money to circulate right now, and a lot of things is going to put a lot of people in peril and hurting. And they're doing this in order to take the money from Medicaid in order to give to the rich. So, that's not something that we want to, fall in line with. We always want to stand against, them taking from the kids, babies, the elderly, and the helpless that's among us. We want to make sure that we're standing against women and men who fall into that kind of injustice. So, we have a very harmful regime, a leadership that is supposed to be the leader of the free world, and they turned it into a third world country by taking, money from elderly people that need it more than these rich people do. So we always want to stand against it, and we're going to pray against it. We're going to pray against it on that sturgeon full moon, and make sure that we cleanse ourselves with meditating. We're going to make sure that we cleanse ourselves with holy water and pray. And, for me, you can if you want to. I intend to fast. I intend to fast on that day. So, that negative energy, those attacks, it doesn't work on any of us. I'm gonna pray, that entire day. We're gonna pray 5 times a day. I don't even know. I think I said it on the other day, one of my other posts, that we should be praying as much as we can. That is our giving, and our belief in God, to let Him know that we are believers. We're not one of those, those lukewarm people that we just gonna ask for something all the time. We're not happy until we're asking for something, but we don't want to give anything back. So these are some of the things that we do as these are something the things that we do as believers to help each other, in the giving process, whether it's in the church, whether it is in the street, whether it's at the gas station, whether it is in our own homes. We have to practice the ability to give to each other, and not let the entity make us feel inadequate, make us feel like we're individualized in society. Ultimately, that's what they're trying to do, and we should all be standing together, against it. We should all be coming together, against this, this negative leadership. And that's I want to say something else, from the hood, but I'm not going to say that. You know, we should be standing against these persons, in government that is supposed to be our leaders. But they're harming our young people. They're harming the elderly, and ultimately, when it comes down to it, as they see that these kids are going back to school, they're going to be harmed in their pocket, with all these tariffs and things that they voted for. These are the things that they voted for, thinking that this person was going to be giving back to our community, to our society. And, he's acting in the interest of the rich in order to tear us down. So I hope that you guys have received this message of giving wherever you are. Giving, make sure that you're giving to your neighbors, your families. Make sure that you're giving, even if it's just a good word to give. And try, as I try to as well, not to say anything that is negative or, demeaning or demoralizing. We're going to keep it 100 and make sure that we're giving, the best that we can from our pockets, from our hearts, from our minds, from our professional resources as we give, and we're going into the season of giving. So I hope that you guys have received this message. I really appreciate you guys. And I will invite you next Tuesday to come out, and we'll have a different theme, as you well know. And please reach out to me in the description below. You can book a session with me. You can book a one-on-one consultation. You can donate to my channel. Please like, share, and follow me over all of my platforms. I'm HighOracle, Reiki Spiritual Healer. Assalamu alaikum.